Hi, my name is Keith, and today I'm going to do another testimony of God video. There's some things like people don't realize, that they might think they get lucky in certain circumstances. Um, they might just feel like, hey, yeah, they're mistaken God's blessings and things that happen. And I did this for a lot of things in my life. Anyway, the first one I was going to talk about is way back when I was a child. I was in 8th grade, and I used to have a pet cockatiel. It's a type of bird, small bird, about the size of like a cardinal or something like that. Nothing too fancy. Anyway, like this bird, I trained it to talk, and I had it almost like litter box trained, if you will. And anyway, it used to fly around our house, um, and its wings somewhat clipped. And this time that it got away, it was actually definitely due for getting its wings clipped. And anyway, my dad was a little slow one day, and the bird, got by him and flew away. I came home later that day, and my dad, basically kind of told me, hey, a bird flew that way. He took off, and he's like, you can go look for it if you want. That's what he told me. I'm like, okay. I was kind of dejected, and he pointed like which way the bird flew, and I actually went out looking for it. I didn't expect to find it or anything, but I had this bird trained to talk a little bit. It would answer to its name, a few things like that. So I'm literally went across the street, and at the time there was a house being built, and I went in this house, just kind of like lack of a better place to go, I guess. And I started calling this bird's name. Also, I heard it answer me. So I'm calling the bird's name BJ, and I hear BJ outside. Yeah. I'm shocked as all heck to hear the bird answer me. I thought I was gonna be like miles away. So I call it again, and it answers me again. And this time, I kind of heard which way the sound was coming from. And I actually literally saw my bird, sitting on part of the frame of the house. And I had this bird, they call it stick train, so I put my finger out like a little perch for it to fly to. Bird flew right to my finger, landed on, and I'm just start walking home. My dad followed me. He saw this, and he just literally couldn't believe it. That I literally just went out in 2 minutes, found my bird. And I brought it back home, and the bird came right to my finger, and I stuck it out instead of flying somewhere else. It's like people would say, "Oh, that was just lucky," and this and that. It's God showing He's real. God blessed me, and He did something kind of like I don't want to say a total miracle. It kind of was, because the bird could have been anywhere. It could have been miles away. Predator could have got it. Anything, could have happened. But it was just amazing, that I, got to find this bird within 2 minutes, or a couple minutes of looking for it. And then the next incident that happened was I was a freshman in high school, and I used to play ice hockey for a travel team. And I was a fairly fast skater. And what had happened was my team was playing this style hockey that we call dump and chase. So it's like someone, if they're a forward and they didn't have a play, they just shoot the puck into the other opposite corner of the rink, and the other forward would have to, skate full speed and race for the puck. So So one of my team did that, and they shot it in the corner when we crossed the center line, and it was my job to go get the puck, so I had to race the other team's defenseman. And like I said, I was pretty fast. I was like close to just a little under 30 miles an hour fast. And anyway, like I was skating, and it's like this defenseman was ahead of me, and it was almost like I had the puck, and he was gonna like trying to defend me, and I literally put like a move on him like I had the puck and skated right around him, and the guy just completely tripped me, and I was on the left. I played left wing, so I was on the left side of the rink, and I was skating full speed toward the corner, straight to the corner, when this guy tripped me, and he tripped me kind of by where the face-off dot is. I literally fell like, kind of like did a Superman impersonation, if you will. So I landed on my stomach, sliding toward the boards, and I didn't realize how close I was to the boards. I started to get up, and while I was still sliding, and all I could see were the boards in front of me, and I'm like, I realized there's no way in heck I was going to get up in time, and I knew I was going to be in such a vulnerable position if I tried getting up. So I laid back down, thinking like this is going to suck. And what had happened was I managed to get my right hand out in front of me. It was just a split-second decision. Could have put my left hand out in front of me, I guess, but by putting my right hand out in front of me, I think it saved my life. Or definitely saved me from possibly being paralyzed, because I hit the boards, and I still hit it pretty hard head first. But I remember my neck snapping to the side. I broke my collarbone. I literally bounced off the boards. I hit the bottom of the boards. I bounced off the boards, and I ended up back where the face-off dot is on the left side, closest to where the goalie is. I mean, I literally bounced off the boards and slid like 15 more feet after hitting the boards. Like 25 feet. I mean, I remember I had a bruise from my nipple line on my chest all the way across my back to even on my back, and then down my left arm, like the same, down about my nipple line. I mean, I hit pretty hard, and I very easily could have been paralyzed or even killed, like snapping my neck that bad. And if I wouldn't have got my hand out in front of me, like I said, it was like a split-second thing, my whole life would have been different. I might not even be here talking to people. And, people might say, well, you broke your collarbone. Well, I didn't die. Or I didn't end up paralyzed from the neck down. Which were two options that could have really happened in that circumstance, When I look back on it, I thought, man, that sucked. But it could have been a whole lot worse, and I think God was actually with me on that one. And as even as Psalm 51 says, my bones that you broke will rejoice, Yeah. I always think about that, how my life could have been so much different. It's like a matter of inches, one way or another. But anyway, I had another incident that was pretty scary, and I think God was looking out for me on this one too. And I remember thinking when this happened, I thought this for a number of years, I was just lucky. So I used to work as a firefighter. I just retired not that long ago. But I think I had about 5-6 years on, and we had a house fire, and there's a crew that went in and they were putting out the fire on the first floor. My crew went in after, and we went up, to the second floor to check for extension, victims, and all kind of fun stuff. And anyway, we're up on the second floor, and I actually fell through a bathroom floor. And when I fell through the bathroom floor, there was like a cast iron tub that fell with me, and the thing just missed me. It was a pretty scary ordeal. I think God was actually looking at, I look back at my life and I think God was actually looking out for me on that one. Yeah, I screwed up, but he actually kept me safe. I didn't, when I fell, I didn't actually even get hurt, which is like even a blessing in itself, like if a firefighter lands on falls on, and they hit their back when they're wearing their SCBAs, it's usually like, back problems instantly. I completely fell forward, and the bathtub missed me and all kind of, good stuff. And my life could have very easily ended, that particular night because of one careless step, And the more I think about it, the more I praise God that I'm still actually here. And the last thing is, I don't remember the date. I think it was like in 2011 or something like that. 2012, sometime like that. There's a tornado that went through the city I lived in, La Crosse, Wisconsin. It literally went like straight across the entire city, and it went across the city like on the street I lived on. Yeah, it went like literally right by my house. And the ironic part is, when I say right by my house, I mean right by my house. I had a small property and my neighbors had a small lot. I think there was maybe about 20 feet between their vinyl fence and my vinyl fence. Their vinyl fence got completely ripped up and destroyed. I was on the second floor of my house at the time, and this tornado had ripped roofs off of buildings like prior to this. Coming to my house, coming towards where my house was. I didn't even get any warning that there was a tornado in the area. There was no, I don't think the sirens even went off or anything. And so I was still upstairs. I didn't hear anything. And this tornado was literally ripping stuff up in my neighbor's property, and I'm upstairs, the second floor of my house. Not oblivious. I mean, it was a strong storm. But I've been through strong storms before, and it wasn't like shaking in my boots or anything like that. And anyway, so my neighbor's fence gets completely ripped away. And then this tornado completely skipped my house. Didn't damage anything, but it did a whole slew of damage all the way down the street, like skipping, kind of things. Like I said, destroyed my neighbor's house, their fence, like 20 feet away from mine. Like completely destroyed it. My vinyl fence, completely unscathed. My house, completely unscathed. And then it went maybe about 40 yards, like diagonal, to the next intersection. Like my house was kind of toward the end of the block, but it went like the opposite way, like behind my house. And it uprooted like a huge tree that blocked this one particular road. I mean, this tree had a root ball that was probably about 15 feet, 10 to 15 feet tall. when it was knocked over. So I mean, this tornado was doing some damage. I had some strength behind it, and then it went to like a Kmart store and ripped the roof off of that. A few blocks away. So yeah, it was this tornado was doing damage, and like I said, I completely skipped my house. Doing damage to my neighbor's house. I take that back. There was one tiny little tree branch that had about it was about an inch in diameter, and it came and it damaged my my gutter above my garage, and I left that just as kind of like, I thought it was kind of cool. So I just I never replaced it or got it fixed. So I was like, I thought that was kind of neat to remembrance of a tornado that went literally right past my house and didn't damage it, aside from a tiny tree branch denting my gutter. It didn't even affect my gutter as far as how it functioned. It just made it look a little funny. But yeah, it's I always used to think I was lucky for all that stuff, and then I look back on my life. And I realized God was working in ways that I don't understand. Especially with the tornado. It's it destroys my neighbor's fence and leaves mine completely untouched. I didn't even touch my house, didn't even damage anything in my house. I mean, I was upstairs. I could have easily been hurt, Then could have blown out the windows of my house, and my windows were, everything was fine. I mean, it's just amazing, Like I said, God was looking out for me, and I don't get it. I don't know why. It's not something I deserve, but it just makes me realize every day is a blessing. And makes me feel lucky to know that God is looking out for me for some reason. And I just want to share my testimony. It's not about me. It's about leading other people to God, and maybe look back at their lives and they can say, hey, wait a second, maybe that wasn't just luck. Maybe that was God putting his hand in there and doing something on my behalf. Like I said, I used to think all that stuff was just luck or, freaky accidents but God has a plan. He has a plan for each and every one of us. Anyway, I hope this video finds the right person and blesses somebody. All praise and glory to the Most High. Amen. Oh, I just wanted to add one thing. I used to live in La Crosse, Wisconsin, and that tornado went right across Green Bay Street. And my old address used to be 2171 Green Bay Street. And my neighbor's house was just to the west of that. So, if you want to pull it up on Google Earth or Google Maps, you can see that they have a white picket fence. I have a white picket fence, and their fence got destroyed. And you can see how close proximity they are, because their fence closest to my house got destroyed. Yeah, that was pretty weird. That their fence is completely gone, and my fence 20 feet away is. And the funny part is they had a better fence than what I had. Anyway, like I said, all praise and glory to the Most High. Amen.